Hi, my name is Dee Dee Weiman and I'm the assistant softball coach here at Cal State Fullerton. The video that you're going to view today is going to be on the sacrifice bunt. We're going to talk about the proper techniques to be successful as a sacrifice bunter and also drills that you can use in practice to promote sacrifice bunting as well as base running. We are also going to touch on some of the other bunting skills that your young softball athlete needs to know as you're learning the softball skills in general. One of the first things that I like to talk about when we're talking about sacrifice bunting is where your footwork wants to be in the box. You want to be up towards the plate and up towards the pitcher. What that's going to ensure is that you have full plate coverage with your bat and you're hopefully making contact with the pitch before it's breaking too much at the beginning of its break, okay? So you want to tell your young athlete, get to up into the plate and up to the front of the box, okay? The next thing is turning to pivot or a full turn to get ready to bunt the ball. There are several different ways people do this. I'm going to talk about three, okay? The first way, a lot of younger girls do this, is they get a full turn and a pivot, okay? So their feet are going to be something like this as they're going to bunt. One of the problems with this is a lot of young girls don't have an awareness of where they're at in the box, and you'll get a lot of girls who get their foot on the plate, and the problem with this is if you make contact with the ball, you're going to be out, okay? So you do have a lot of young girls get in this position. It's not the quickest position to get into, but if you have people that are really struggling with bunting, I'd say that would be the most solid foundation with your legs to do the sacrifice bunt, okay? The second way to pivot and get in the right position with your legs is a pivot, okay? So you're in your hitting stance, and then you're going to pivot the back leg and you're going to bend the knees and get into this position for the bunt. Just looking at my legs right now. So this is a pivot, okay? You want to make sure that your weight is balanced and you can feel it going directly down into the ground between your two legs. A lot of young girls get their weight too far forward as they're doing this. So you want to make sure both knees are bent and that you're in a balanced athletic position. Okay, that's the second way. The third way would be kind of a modified pivot. So you're more here and you're slightly open. Okay, so you're in your batting stance and then you're going to slightly open and your legs are going to be at somewhat of a 45-degree angle in the box, and then you're going to get set here. You got to make sure you cover the plate, and some girls who are too close may actually pivot and get into the back part of the plate. So you're here, you're going to move this back foot a little bit, and it's a modified pivot turn, okay? Those are the three ways that you can work on footwork for bunting. In regards to the footwork, the other thing you need to really pay attention to with your bunters is their front legs. A lot of hitters as well as bunters have problem controlling their feet. They get happy feet. They're moving in the box. So you want to make sure you have solid footing as you're bunting and or hitting. As you turn to pivot to bunt the ball, and let's say I'm going to do the pivot, you got to pay attention to this front toe and make sure that your feet are closed. A lot of girls end up pivoting this foot all the way open, and we have a real problem staying balanced that way, okay? So you're going to be in your hitting stance. We're going to pivot, and you want to make sure you watch that front toe. Look at how my knees are bent, okay? This is really important. When it comes to bunting, you don't want to have a lot of movement with your hands, okay? We'll talk about hands in a minute, but I want to talk about legs first. You want to make sure you have your knees bent, and you're always going to have the bat at the top of the strike zone. Okay, so that's going to be just below the shoulders. Your strike zone, just in case you're unaware of what your strike zone is, it's usually your letters to your knees. So anything that's going to be below that, you're going to let go, and that's really important. Okay, so make sure that you've pivoted, you cover the plate, you're balanced. This front leg is closed a little bit so that you're in a good athletic position and that you're covering the plate. One other thing that's really important is bat control. We're going to talk about the hands on the bat and some of the problems that young girls have. So we've already talked about our footwork. We've pivoted. We're ready with our lower body to bunt the ball. Now what is our upper body going to do? Well, we've got to make sure that we cover the plate with our bat. One of the main problems I see with young bunters is we get a really bad angle on the bat head. Okay, you want to make sure that you get the bat head flat, fully covering the plate. One thing that we use as a tool here that's very effective is actually coming out more towards the first baseman as you're getting ready to bunt the ball, and then cushioning so we get a nice soft bunt. We talk about soft hands, It's more of a catch than anything. So you're here, we're going to pivot. You have a little bit of a slight angle towards first baseman, and then as you go to bunt the ball, we're going to cushion, and we'll have a bunter that's going to demonstrate that for you later. You have to be really careful that we're not pulling back too far, because a lot of times then you're going to bunt the ball foul. Watch your bunters. If you see them bunting and their bat head is like this, we have really no other place to go but foul or hard down the right side, and we want to be able to bunt the ball in all different locations, so that's really important. One other thing is, I really believe that it's nice to bring your hand up on the bat. You don't want your hands too close together because then you lose control of the bat head, and you'll see some bunters do that. Having them slightly apart, you're going to have a good grip by pinching the bat. You see no fingers are in this area, so that when you make contact in the sweet spot or the barrel, you're going to have good control of the bat. Pinch and hold. Okay? So you see I have my thumb on top, and then I have these fingers underneath so that I can have good control of the bat head. Okay, you got to be careful for this or this. A lot of people want to get too high up on the barrel. You want to make sure they're in the transition area. Okay? So if you have young girls and you're at practice and you want to put them in a circle, the first thing you can do to bunting is make sure they get their feet work correct, stand there and watch them do the footwork techniques, and then have all of them grab the bat and show you how they're going to pinch and be able to hold the bat and have control of the bat head by holding it this way. Okay? Next thing we're going to talk about is the angle you want the bat to be at. Like I said before, you don't want the angle of the bat to be back because you're going to bunt it foul. A lot of times that also forces you to drop the bat head, which means we're going to pop it up. And if I'm a rise ball pitcher, I'm going to eat you alive with that pitch. So you got to be really careful. You want to have your bat at the top of the strike zone, and I like to see a little bit of an angle at the bat on the bat head. You're in your batting stance. We're going to pivot quickly. The hands are going to come up. You're going to pinch the bat on the transition area. Your knees are bent. You have a nice angle at the bat. You start out a little in front, and then you cushion. Okay, so if you want to bunt the ball down third base here, first base here, we're talking about slight angles. Okay, and we're in a good position right here to bunt the ball. So if you're at practice and you really need to just see what your young bunters can do before they even worry about bunting the ball, you should have them do all of this as what I call a shadow drill. Get them standing there in a circle. Like I said before, see how they pinch the bat, watch their pivots, and so have all of them in their batting stance and have them pivot and get into this position. And as you walk around, you can make sure that they are all in good position here, okay? So you make sure everything looks good, and you can manipulate them as they're standing there, and then have them get back in their stance and then turn and do the same thing. Okay, and this is a really good drill for you guys to do it during the hitting portion of your practices. From this point, we want to talk about the sacrifice bunt, specifically when you want to turn based on the pitcher and where we want to bunt the ball. Okay, and you can also do this in that same circle with your hitters in their hitting workout. Okay, so what you want to do is have them all stand there, or you can make boxes for all of them. Have them get in their hitting stance. You're going to be a pitcher, and they're all going to be facing you, and you're going to talk about the timing of their turn and have them work on their turns and getting into the right position. So the best timing for the turn for your bunter is as your pitcher's on the mound and she goes to present the ball and go into her windup. That's when you want to turn for the sacrifice bunt. Okay, so the sacrifice bunt is an early turn because, as the term sacrifice denotes, you're giving yourself up so that the runner on base, whether it be first or second, most of the time it's first, is going to be able to advance to the next base. Okay, so the sacrifice bunt means an early turn, so you can give yourself up as an out at first base so that the runner can be safe at the next bag and you put him in scoring position. Okay, so you want to turn as the pitcher presents and goes into the beginning of her windup. Now, as we go into other bunts, you're going to see it's a little bit slightly different turn for those, so that's why we want to touch on those real quickly. One really important fact when it comes to the sacrifice bunt is you want to bunt strikes. So you really need to have your bunter be aware of what the strike zone is. It's always good to put your bunter into game type situations in practice. So as we're going to demonstrate here, we're going to have our bunter bunt live, and I'm going to talk about a 3 to 4 station drill that you can do to work a bunting rotation within your practice. Okay. Okay, so you want to make sure that your bunter, when they're doing the sacrifice, is bunting strikes. If your bunter gets into the position to bunt and the ball is higher than this, your bunter is going to pull back. Okay, if the ball is here or a little lower, we're going to bend our knees and keep our bat at the top of the strike zone. What happens a lot of times is we see this. Okay, too much movement in the bat head, so we have a lot of foul balls or we pop the ball up. You want to make sure that you keep the bat here at the top of the strike zone and your eyes are looking over the top of the bat, and boom, we can bunt and have better control. Okay? When it comes to where on the field that we would like to bunt the ball, there are several different options. And you really have to pay attention as a hitter to the defense of the team that you're playing. Okay? So one thing that you may pay attention to is the pitcher. Is the pitcher very athletic? Do they get off the mound very quickly? If you have a pitcher who does not have a very good overhand throw or they're not very athletic, well, that's a good place you want to bunt the ball, because if you're going to sacrifice, yes, you're giving yourself up, but you might as well be smart and bunt it to a position player who may not be paying attention, who's not going to make the best throw, and the bonus would be that you would actually be safe, or that you would create a little bit of a ruckus and be able to get that runner from first base to third base or second base all the way home. Okay? So you want to make sure that you bunt the ball. If you're watching the game, which you should be paying attention to when you're in the dugout, okay, you may want to bunt it to a pitcher who doesn't have very good range, isn't very athletic, isn't very quick off the mound, has a funky pitching style, or maybe doesn't have the best overhand throw. Okay, that's one good option. The second option would be to bunt it to the corners. If you have a corner who's way back or has any of the above, where they have trouble throwing the ball to first base, or they're not very quick as they're coming in. Okay, a lot of times as soon as your corners know that you're in a bunting situation, they're going to creep up, and that would be not the best place to bunt the ball, because you don't want to just give it up to them and have them actually have a shot at getting your runner out at second, getting your lead runner out. Okay, so if that's the case and you have corners that are very aggressive and they're already up, then I'd say besides the pitcher, the other place you want to bunt the ball is in the alleyway, which is between the pitcher in first and the pitcher in third, so to second and short, and those are really good ways. The bonus to that is also you may get the ball in the middle where the catcher comes out and you have corners crashing in the pitcher, and if you don't have good communication, then they may have problems getting the ball, and the same may happen with a very aggressive pitcher between the pitcher and the first baseman or the pitcher and the third base. So I think the alleyways as a whole are the best place to bunt the ball, so you may have some confusion as you have multiple players trying to go after the ball. As your young softball player ends up, facing better pitching as she gets older, one of the other challenges, other than just trying to bunt the fastball, would be bunting moving pitches. Okay, so really based on whatever the strength is of the pitcher, you may see a rise ball, you may see a drop ball, you may see a curve ball. The best way to really prepare your pitcher to bunt those balls is to put her in a situation where she's bunting those in practice. Okay, so if you're going to see a pitcher who's going to bunt, if you're going to see a pitcher who throws a rise ball, you want to make sure that as you turn to bunt, you make sure your bunter is staying at the top of the strike zone, still bending your knees, but getting prepared for a ball that's going to rise higher than this so they can pull away. Okay. In my opinion, it's the easiest thing to bunt because you can really see the movement of the pitch. So you want to make sure you're in a good position, okay? You want to make sure you get on top of the ball. Otherwise, getting in the middle of the ball is going to cause you to pop it up, and that's why a lot of pitchers want to throw that pitch at that point, okay? If we're going to see a drop ball pitcher, you really have to bend those knees and make sure you're going to get those knees down to the ball and make sure you don't drop the bat head in an effort to try to bunt that pitch. If it's too low, you have to let it go. A lot of times the ball in the dirt is a way for your runner to advance to the next bag. So you got to be smart on somebody who throws a drop ball. And that's why it's really important we want to be up in the box so we can try to bunt these balls before they're at their peak of their breaking. You want to try to bunt them before they start to break, okay? If you see a curve ball and somebody throws really hard and has a good curve ball, you may want to try to bunt that in the alleyway to the right. It may be difficult for you to get all the way around that, but you want to make sure that you're strong with this backhand as you're bunting, okay? A lot of girls end up being really weak and giving up, and that's how we bunt it foul or pop it up. So you want to make sure you have a strong backside as you're catching to bunt that curve ball, and you don't want to pull back too much on that. Get out, stay solid, and bunt that ball in the alleyway. What I'd like to do now is actually show you one of the bunters who's going to demonstrate just a good sacrifice bunt, a a good turn, and we're going to have her show us different locations that she can bunt to. Right now she's going to be bunting off a live. After she's done bunting and demonstrating for you, I'll talk about a 3 to 4 station rotation that you can do within your practice to help work on bunting. Okay, as you can see now, our bunter is in her hitting stance. That's excellent right there. What's good about this right now is you're going to be able to see what she does when there's a strike and what she does when there's a ball. Okay, she's up and up in the box. She's in her hitting stance, pivot, ball in the dirt, pulls the bat back. Right now she's just simply working on bunting balls down the middle. Good. Good. One other thing that you'll see a lot of times with young bunters is they want to pull their head out and away from the ball. See how her head is right on the ball? A lot of times when they pull their head out, their hands will follow. They'll get under the ball and they'll actually pull the ball towards their face by doing that. So you want to keep your head right on the bat head. Trusting your good mechanics, make good contact with the ball. Nice bunt. What you see now is a drill that we do here at Cal State Fullerton. We put these 3 cones out so you can get an area or a zone with which you want to bunt the ball out. This really helps with nice soft hands. So she's just basically worrying about right now trying to bunt the ball within the cones and down the middle. Okay, the better she gets at this, the better she gets at getting those balls down within the cone, then we can work on her bunting the ball down third base or bunting the ball down first base. Good eye. You really want to make sure as you're doing this that you pull the bat back with authority so the umpire understands that you're not trying to go for that ball. There we go. Okay, let's try some down third base. Good, good eye. So, one other advantage to this drill here is that it's giving your hitter a chance to identify balls and strikes. And that's always a good skill for your hitter to be. And you can also do this with your pitchers in the bullpen, and they can work on their moving pitches with a hitter in there. So this is a multitasking drill. There we go. Nice bunt. There we go. Okay. Now let's do first base. There we go. Little too sharp of an angle with the bat. Good. There we go. Okay. That's kind of a good example right there of her dropping the bat head a little bit too much, watching the angle. Make sure we're bunting strikes only. There we go. Nice bunt. One more of those. Good. The next thing I want to talk about is how to put a practice plan together that's going to help to work on your bunting skills. So the first thing I'm going to do is talk about a 3-station rotation drill that you can do, and then I'll talk about the 4th station you can add in. So let's say you're at the field. You have a field with bases, a pitching rubber, and a home plate. The rotations would be you can have one of your pitchers or 2 of your pitchers rotating off the mound, throwing live with the catcher, and you have a bunter at home plate working bunts off of balls that are straight. You can have her mixing fastball and change. You can have her mixing pitches. So you have a live hitter bunting off of 1 or 2 pitchers. You can do bunting 2 or 3 pitches at a time, or you can do an at-bat where they're going to stand in there and try to bunt. That would be the 1st station. The 2nd station would be actually bunting off a machine And you can set your machine as fast as you want to and have your bunter standing there and work sacrifices off the machine, working bunting to whatever location they want to bunt to, or bunting with different types of bunts that we'll talk about here at the end. Okay, so that's your second station. Your third station, which we really like to do, it can be twofold. It can be a shadow drill. As your on-deck hitter is standing there watching your bunter bunt, they can be timing off the pitcher their turns and pretending like they're bunting off the pitcher. We like to do that. So your third station would be your on-deck hitter and they're shadow bunting off the live pitcher, or you can take a tee, which we will do here, and we'll demonstrate for you how you can shadow bunt off of a tee. Okay, so the bunter here is going to be doing what the on-deck hitter would be doing. If you have a lot of kids that you're trying to get bunting done, you can have your hitter, your on-deck person shadow bunting, and you can have a second on-deck person shadow bunting off the tee, and they can be timing the pitcher at this point, or they can just be doing it as she is doing it. The lower the tee, the better, so you can really work on bending your knees and getting to the low strike. Okay, or you can move the tee up and work on bunting the high pitch. Okay, so those are your three stations right there. And our bunter's doing an excellent job right there. Good job. One more. One problem that may arise from bunting like this off of the tee is you have your bunter, and why don't you demonstrate for us, bunter, turning and getting the bat right to the ball. Okay? What you really want to do is work on your bunting form here. So we're going to have her pivot and turn, and then bend the knee and go down to bunt the ball. Okay? So doing this drill wrong would be just bringing the bat right down to the ball. Instead, the proper way would be turn as if you're turning and the pitcher is pitching, and then bend the knees to go down to a ball that's thrown down or to go to a ball that's thrown up. Okay, so you want to pivot first, turn, set, and then go down to the ball to bunt it. The next drill that I'm going to show you is a two-person drill. You can do it with a smaller bat, a real skinny bat, and baseball, so we're really working on good hand-eye coordination here. In this drill, what you're going to notice is you have your pitcher about 15 to 20 feet away, about half distance to the mound, maybe a little shorter away from your hitter, so she can simulate a pitch coming in and work on her timing. Okay, so this would be the fourth station. You have the batter there. They're going to turn, pivot, and try to bunt the baseball. Okay, you can also do this with a 10-inch softball or an 11-inch softball. Okay, it really works on good hand-eye coordination. And you have to make sure you get the bat head out there. You can also progress this drill into doing a short front toss with a regular ball. Okay? A lot of teams in college actually use this as a way to warm up in pregame. They work like a front toss bunting drill like this, but you can also use this in practice as your bunter is getting ready to go on deck and actually bunt live or off of batting practice pitcher. Okay? It's really good to work on the technique of bunting as she's doing this. Ball's not being thrown too hard, and she can really tell it's mostly going to be a strike, and she's going to get the ball down. Work on her soft hands. This may also be a good drill to start introducing bunting the ball down third base or first base. So she can really work on good bat control here. And good bat control is crucial when you're working on being a good bunter. As I said before, that's a 3 or 4 station rotation drill that you can do at practice. One other thing, if you really want to get intricate, is you can add base runners in, and you can work on what the base runners are going to do. So you can get your base runners working on starting at first, working on their leadoffs, making sure the bunter's getting the ball down, trying to get a good turn around second, and being aggressive and going to third. You can work on sliding. You can incorporate as much as you really want to into that drill to get as many of your players involved. But like I said before, we really like to work on base running and bunting as 2 good fundamental things that you can do to generate runs for your team and get something going offensively for your team if your hitters are not hitting well or to spark a little rally. So what you want to do is make sure you're really simulating as much as you can in practice in drill type form. So there's 3 to 4 station drill you can do for your practice. The very last portion of this video, I really want to just touch on basically the rest of the bunts that we work on here at Cal State Fullerton. I'm going to have a bunter just demonstrating for you in a shadow type drill the different types of bunts that you can be working on, and talk about the mechanics and the timing of the turn and the situation you may want to bunt that certain bunt in. Okay, so our bunter is going to first demonstrate the sacrifice bunt. It's an early turn as the pitcher goes into our windup. We're giving ourselves up as an out so that the runner can advance. Okay? There we go. From the sacrifice, the next bunt we would work on is a bunt for a base hit. Okay, so this may be a similar mechanics of the bunt, but we're going to turn a little later as the pitcher is already into her windup at the top of her circle. We're going to turn, and now we're trying to get a base hit and get ourselves on. Okay, same mechanics, different timing of the turn. Off of the bunt for a base hit would also be a bunt and run, which means with your bunting for a base hit, you're going to bunt still only strikes as you would on the sacrifice, but now the bunt and run is going to be bunting anything in the zone so that your runner can be safe as they're taking off with the pitch. Okay, so bunt and run means your runner's running and you've got to get the ball down. Okay, so you want to turn as you would for a bunt for a base hit, but make sure you're bunting any ball that's anywhere near you. Okay. After that, the next thing we can work on is a slap. Okay, the reason why we want to make sure and we turn early for the sacrifice is to get the ball down. Okay. But also it can help to hide the slap for us. So as we talked about earlier, let's say that you turn for a sacrifice early, you see your corners coming in, and you have the green light to slap the ball, or your coach is already thinking ahead. This is a situation where you may want to slap. So as the pitcher is getting centered or wind up, we're going to turn for the sack, and then as she's coming through her wind up, we're going to bring the hands back, and then boom, slap the ball through. Now there's two different philosophies I feel in the slap. As you saw our bunter do, she set, just brings the hands back, okay? And then a nice little tap. It's controlled. You want to get it on the ground because we don't want a line drive. You want to get it on the ground so we can advance runners. A lot of times you want to try to chop it maybe over a fielder's head. Okay. The next type of a slap is more of a full swing. So she's going to turn a sacrifice. She's actually going to pivot the hips and come through and give a much harder cut. You may see that from your more power hitters. It's not as controlled as the other slap. And you may see it from girls who are struggling to make contact with the pitcher. It's a good timing technique really for somebody who's taking too big of a cut and really just an effort to get the bat on the ball. The next bunt we want to demonstrate is the bunt slap bunt. It's a little bit more of a difficult bunt. You have to really have the technique of this down, and it's a lot about the timing of it. It's a tempo type bunt. What it is you're going to turn as you're going to sacrifice, then you're going to pull back, show slap, and then back to the bunt, okay? If you have bunters that can do all three of those very well, meaning sacrifice, slap, bunt, it will keep the corners guessing, which is very good, and that's what you want to do. So once again, she's going to show you sacrifice, slap, bunt. Bunt, slap, bunt is what we call that, okay? Very, very effective way to bunt the ball. Okay, good. And really, the bonus to that is if you do the shorter slap, that's how you can do the bunt, slap, bunt. So really, I think this shorter slap is a much better, more controlled type slap, and you can also fit the bunt, slap, bunt in there. This next bunt is a very popular bunt. You'll see a lot of girls do this, but you also see a lot of girls do this incorrectly, okay? The next bunt is the sneaky bunt. So the sneaky bunt is a very, very, very late turn. It's really, you're doing it in an effort to trick the defense. So a lot of times power hitters will do this. Okay, you have defense back, they're looking for you to smash the ball at them, and then you're just gonna switch your feet, get set, and drop the bunt down. Good. So she's getting ready, as you can tell, in a running position. Okay, so she's set in her batting. The pitch is on its way. Boom. Sneaky bunt. Okay? A lot of times you'll see girls try to sneaky bunt with the bat behind them with one hand. In my opinion, not a very smart way to sneaky bunt. You don't have very good bat control, and a lot of times you'll see the bat head go right into the side. So We really like to teach a sneaky bunt where she's going to turn and get the bat out in front of her body, get it down, be in the running position, and take off towards first, okay? You got to watch this, though. A lot of times you'll see the bat head drop, so you got to make sure you keep your bat head level as you're doing this. And when it comes to sneaky bunt, one really important thing to focus on is the footwork. Our bunter here is going to demonstrate in slow motion what your feet are going to be doing. So you're in your batting stance, the back foot's going to slightly come back, and then you're going to shuffle the front foot forward, bunt, and take off. Okay, you don't want to be running as you're bunting it, but you want to shuffle your feet, bunt, take off. There we go. Okay, so now we're in a good position to try to run towards first base. Back foot back, front foot forward a little, shuffle, get ready to bunt the ball. Okay. The last bunt we want to talk about is the squeeze bunt. It's basically like a bunt and run. You got a runner on third base and you want to score her, which means we're bunting every pitch that's thrown at us. Okay, you want to have good form in trying to get the bunt down, but you want to make sure you get on top of it. We don't want to pop this up because that's the worst case scenario for our third base runner who's running full out towards home plate. Okay, she's going to square a little later than a sacrifice as the pitcher's going into the top of her windup because you don't want to give it up too early with your corners. Okay, so she's coming at the top of her windup. We're going to go ahead and square. Yep. And she's demonstrating we're bunting balls all over the place. Just get the ball down in front of the plate. Do not pop this ball up. Okay, if you have to throw your bat out to make contact, do that. I hope this video has helped you with any of the questions you may have about softball skills or drills you can use in practice and how to improve your young softball player. Thank you very much for listening today. Best of luck this year in your season. We'll see you at the ballpark. Keep working hard.